industry-leading genetics, extensive local breeding and testing, top-performing products. Developed specifically for your field. Visit pioneer.com/what's next to learn more.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio.
Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio Channel 147, Sirius XM. It is Thursday, October 17th, and I am your host for the day, Lyndsey Smith, while Sean is away. It is, of course, the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. We are going to head to Ontario. We've got two farmers from Ontario. We'll jump to Saskatchewan, then to Alberta, and then we'll hear from Derwyn Hammond of Pioneer Seeds Canada from Manitoba right at the end of the show. Let's get to it. We're heading to Brownsville, Ontario, and we're talking to Kevin Buchner first. What has kept you busy? This has been an adventure to connect for this interview, which is typical for harvest time. So what are you up to this week, Kevin, that's keeping you busy?
We just started taking corn off, so I was unloading a truck when you tried calling me last time.
And so how's the corn running?
Really good so far. It's actually super dry. We're taking some stuff off that's 19%, and yielding really well. Okay.
And now, are you one of those farms that the corn sort of all of a sudden just started drying down like crazy, or has it been more average?
It's been pretty average. It's just such a warm fall that everything is way ahead. And also, if you didn't spray fungicides, your corn died from tar spot this year.
Yeah. So you're in one of those areas definitely that you can tell the difference between what got sprayed and what didn't?
Oh, yeah, it's night and day. You see the satellite maps and everything, and the whole section is green that got sprayed, and the places that got missed are brown as can be. And, yeah, you can see it on just if you fly a drone up, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Now, what has the past years been with tar spot? It's a relatively new disease, obviously. Is this by far the worst? Has it been gets worse every year, or is it just the situation this year?
It started showing up about 3 years ago, and then last year was decently bad, but not nearly as bad. This year is just unheard of. It's going to be a 50 bushel difference between spraying with fungicide and not spraying.
Wow. Okay, that's huge. Now, how does that potentially impact your decisions for next year? Have you sort of sat down to try and figure out what the plan might be?
Yeah, we've definitely decided it's an all-spray kind of thing now. We used to kind of just be selective and just did high-yielding fields or whatever. And then now it's just a guarantee we're spraying everything and not even leaving 10 or 20 acres behind because it pays for itself pretty fast.
Yeah, at 50 bushels an acre, absolutely. Even if corn prices aren't sky high, that's too much, that's for sure. Now, are the beans all done then?
Yep, the beans are done. We spread some manure on some of the ground, and then we planted all our wheat as well.
Cool. Okay, so are you happy with the date it got in, or would you prefer it be a little earlier, or is this about average for your farm?
This is definitely earlier than normal, which is awesome. We were probably 2 weeks earlier than normal, so that's awesome. We're getting some good growth, and hopefully we get some great yields to keep Wheat Pete happy next year.
That's right. I was going to say, Wheat Pete will be very pleased to hear that it went in early. That makes him very happy. Now, you said spreading manure, so does it usually go on soybean ground ahead of winter wheat, or what's your sort of manure management plan?
So we try and spread before wheat if we can, but if it's a wet year and we're going to be struggling to get the wheat in, we try getting the wheat on, but we don't have to, but it's nice to give that extra nutrients to the wheat and really get it going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And frankly, it's nice to have a break in the crop cycle to get that manure on there. So it's nice to have that in there too. Now, how long do you figure, let's say the weather holds relatively well, when would you typically be done harvest, and when do you think you'll be done this year? Will it be a lot sooner, you think?
Yeah, so usually for us it's mid-November, and we're looking like we could be mid-October, so a full month ahead.
Okay. What are you going to do with all your time?
Oh, I still got cows to take care of. We run a dairy farm as well.
Yeah, well, this is the hedge against downtime is livestock. That's really... Yeah, that's right. Now, okay, so with the cows, so with the dairy, have you run into any of those issues with, trying to make high moisture corn or anything like that, and it was too dry? Because we're certainly hearing reports of that.
No, we were pretty fortunate that we were really on top of moisture. We usually are switching the harvester over, and we're taking samples a week or two before we're ready. And we were pretty much ready for that first sample and found out it was go time right away.
Wow. Okay. That definitely shows the value of checking and trying to be on top of these things. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, so with dairy, what has been the most challenging thing this summer?
Well, for us, we just switched over to robots. So beginning of June, we went through that with a couple sleepless weeks of pushing cows through the robots and getting them all trained. So, and then it's been a learning curve just trying to figure out how to manage our herd and like moving them around and everything. It's just been a total different change because we were in a parlor before.
Mm-hmm. Did all the cows eventually learn, or did you have to make some tough calls and find some homes for some of those girls?
No, all the girls were pretty cooperative and did learn. We have a few old girls that had to dry off and calve back in to finally figure it out, but yeah, everyone seems to be running. And we didn't really drop much milk, so that's a plus too.
That's huge. Yeah, I have. It sounds like it went well. Maybe hindsight makes you feel a little better about it, but I've certainly heard it is a very stressful, very trying time to convert the entire herd over to robots. But so far, early days in, do you feel it's been worth it?
Oh yeah, so I used to get up at 1:30 in the morning every other day for all year long. So now we're sleeping until 4, which is a big difference. So just the lifestyle change has been incredible, which is very nice for family life and just balancing everything out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we have no regrets, that's for sure.
Yeah. I love that you think 4 a.m. is sleeping in, Kevin. That's ridiculous. Just so you know.
Well, dairy farmers are a little weird, right?
Yeah, you're a little different breed. But you know what? I think it's something that most people would say is that, you're still working, you're still in the barn, you still spend time with your cows, but, it does offer a little bit more life balance, for everybody involved. And I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, it's a lot more flexibility. You don't have to be at the barn at the exact time that you usually are when you're milking cows in a parlor.
Yeah. Yeah, they do love their routine too, just like humans. Now, my question of the week, Kevin, is I know you've still got some harvest left to go, but do you or your farm family have any sort of harvest wrap-up rituals or traditions?
Not really. Maybe a case of beer gets brought into the barn and we finish that off. So that's about it for us.
That totally counts, especially when you've still got cows to take care of. The year never really fully ends, right? So there you go.
No, we can't just leave, that's for sure.
Yeah, all right. Okay, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me on the Rapid Fire.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lyndsey.
All right, we're going to take a quick break for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, and hop to Stewart Skinner of Ontario right after this.
Get ready for tillage season with the high-speed disc from Brandt. Cut and size residue, create ideal seed beds, and level ruts faster than any other tillage machine. It's a better field finish and fewer passes, so you can stay on schedule, no matter what fall throws at you. And right now, you can get yours with a $12,000 rebate. There's never been a better time to bring your operation up to speed. Visit Brant.ca for details.
Joining me now is Courtney Stevenson, Portfolio Manager with New Farm. What could farmers be doing this fall to get ahead of next spring?
It's important to start thinking about applying a soil active herbicide so that they can get ahead of their weeds for the next spring. One of the nice things about applying in the fall is that Beer EZ and Volterra EZ are activated by moisture. It's a great way to use snow to your advantage. The snowpack will activate these products. It's a little bit nicer in that you don't have to incorporate. You can just apply them with your sprayer. One of the things that is also a benefit by applying in the fall, a grower has 8 weeks of activity in the spring. You're going to be preserving your moisture and fertility in the spring by controlling your weeds at that time.
Is there such thing as too early or too late?
You need to apply these products when the soil temperature is 10 degrees Celsius or lower. The first best stop would be to talk to your local retailer, or you can always go to newfarm.ca/fall apply.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio Channel 147, Sirius XM. I am your host for the day, Lyndsey Smith, and it is Thursday, which means it is time for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. We head now to Perth County, Ontario, the lovely Perth County, Ontario, and we're talking to Stewart Skinner. Stewart, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on today.
Okay, so I said the lovely Perth County because it is a beautiful part of Ontario, but I was there in July, and the crops looked not great in some areas, and there seemed to be like a line where they were pretty good and then quite struggling in other areas. Which side of the line did you fall on this year?
Well, I guess this year I'm on the right side of it, I suppose. On the north half of the county, we were a lot luckier than the south half. Especially anybody that farms heavy clay this spring had a real heck of a time. Yeah. But not a lot of clay in and around Listowel. We're pretty. Yeah. One of my friends at Guelph, Lyndsey, he once stated that farming in Perth County was just like farming for dummies. That was back in. I'm old enough that I remember the Four Dummies series of books. Yes. It's just simpler here. It's also costs twice as much.
That's right.
I digress.
Yeah, it does. No, but I mean, it is great ground. It is a lovely part of the province, and typically Perth County does very well on the yield scale. So I see where they're coming from, but yeah, it doesn't mean every year is going to be perfect. That's for sure.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So you were on the better side, but it was a challenging spring. Where are you at now for harvest? Where are you sitting?
Well, I'm one of those funny people that still predominantly calls themselves a livestock farmer, mm-hmm. although we have enough crops now that we can dabble and pretend like we know what we're doing. We also do all organic cropping here. We have an organic hog operation, and I'm learning new lessons all the time. As a guy who didn't grow up growing plants and have only cropped for a few seasons, you think you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, and I've finally figured it out. You do that, you're like, oh, I made 7 new things I need to learn about next year.
Yes.
And it is a challenge because with pigs, if I got a nursery, every 5 weeks I've got a new shot to try to do better. This whole one shot a year is really stressful.
Thank you. I gotta say, it's one of the things, and you've summarized it well, but like my partner and I were talking about, how many more seasons we hope we have farming. And now we have sheep, but we run on a grass system. So unlike hogs where you do get that, sort of new generation to try something new or improve, we really only get sort of one production cycle a year. Crops are the same. And, trying to improve when you have to wait an entire season to try the next new thing, it takes a lot of patience. And I'll be honest, Stewart, I don't know if I have that kind of patience. So maybe I should get hogs. I don't know. Yeah. It's unbelievable how much patience you have to have. Anyway, so what are some of those lessons though? What are some of the things that you want to try for next year to improve on?
Well, one of the things, again, coming from organics, we have a real limited amount of what we can do on a fertility standpoint. And so this was my first year where I went really crazy and said, you know what, even though it's hard to do, we're going to try to feed the corn with as much manure as a conventional guy would be able to put on with nitrogen. And the good news is it worked. Our corn normally would die down early because it runs out of nitrogen. This year it didn't die down. I also learned that the hybrid I've had great success with the last couple of years is slightly too long when you don't starve it of some nutrients. So next year we're gonna try the high nutrient program again, but we're gonna dial back the hybrid because while all my neighbors are starting in at dry corn, I've still got it's going to be a while here until we're cutting or picking corn, whatever you want to call it, shelling corn, combining corn, depending where you are.
I don't know. This is the blind leading the blind, Stewart. I don't know. People were talking about cob meal. I'm like, what? There's something different than just corn? I don't understand. So, yeah. So we'll just guess. We'll make up terms, too. I can do that. Okay, but that's a fascinating observation, though, right? Is that in that if you're going to improve your fertility package, it actually creates sometimes a different challenge in trying to actually get this crop to finish potentially in the year that you have. And it's not like Perth County is a short season, but if you have a great hybrid that has all of that time that it needs to mature, I could see where that would cause some issues. Now, I do want to ask about the pigs though. So, what is the hog market like? Now, obviously you fill a niche market being organic based. But how has the hog market been in the last little while?
Well, I think my standard answer for the last few years, and I think it'll keep being my standard answer till I die at this point, is every day there's people making money in pigs, there's people losing money in pigs, and then we're filling every point in the spectrum in between. I think one of the interesting things in pork is that it's a globally traded commodity, and Canada's exporting 70% of the pork they produce. So at the end of the day, most of the pig farmers they're participating in a global supply chain. And what we have going for us in Eastern Canada is we have really competitive ingredient, like costs. Mm-hmm. Gone are the days when Iowa had the cheapest corn. Iowa actually has some of the most expensive corn in North America, and Ontario is coming in on the lower end or Eastern Canada is coming in on the lower end of production costs. So we've got a good cost reduction. The challenging point has been and will continue to be there's not enough processing in Eastern Canada. So, we've got probably about 5,000 pigs a week leaving Ontario to go to Brandon, Manitoba, and another 10 to 15,000 pigs a week leaving to go to the U.S. every week. Like that, all of our pigs, including our pigs, every single pig we raise now ends up in the States, which in itself I'm not complaining about. I don't really care where someone lives. I'd rather work with people I trust, regardless of what's on their passport. And we've got a really good chain that we're in, but that does remain at an industry level a challenge. That every week we've got 20,000 animals leaving this province, and each one of those animals represents $300 to $500 of economic activity that could be staying here. So that will be the challenge. We've got good costs on the production side, but unfortunately we just seem to, like so many other industries, fail to add the value at the further processing stage.
Mm-hmm. Do you foresee, I mean, we've certainly seen a few changes on the large corporate entities here in Canada on the hog side. I see we're going to have a return of the name Canada Packers coming in. Do you see, that push for more processing in Eastern Canada, not just Ontario, getting anywhere? I mean, Ollie Mills had its issues too. It definitely seems to be a challenge, that's for sure.
I think it's interesting. There's been lots of rumblings. Ontario has got a really strong cooperative, Conestoga Meats, and that group has done really well. And they were looking at some significant expansion plans, but it sounds like maybe that's just they're gonna look at status quo or maybe modest improvements now. And a lot of these, I think a lot of processing expansion is going to be limited by the sheer cost of building things. And that's not a Canadian phenomenon so much as I believe it in terms of, as I said, we work with an American entity. I think that's a North American phenomenon, that the replacement of infrastructure has gotten so high that unless you're working with an existing facility, it's very difficult to put together a good business case. So if there's going to be an expansion in Eastern Canada, and you mentioned the name already, I think it's going to come from Olymel, and I think it'll come from Quebec. And I think what will happen there, Lyndsey, is they do have some really good plants that are single shift that, you flick a switch and hire a few more people, which it does appear the labor situation in Canada is changing quickly. There could be processing capacity that comes online, but that's not happening tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And there continues to be healthy demand for pigs in the U.S. Yeah. Packers down there want pigs. Yeah.
We are lucky in a lot of ways to have that gigantic market just to the south. Not saying it's perfect, just saying we do benefit every now and again, especially for things that can be trucked. So I will not go so far as to say it's perfect. Don't worry. All right, Stewart, last question. Although, again, being primarily livestock and having new piglets all the time, I'm asking everyone sort of, do they have like a post-harvest ritual? But now that you're a bona fide crop producer, a grain farmer, a cash cropper, if you will, will you start having a post-harvest ritual of some sort of party or something else?
Yeah, we do have. My dad and I have a little, it didn't mean to be a tradition, and all of a sudden it was. We go out for a really nice dinner, the two of us, when we finish corn up at my parents have a farm up near Lake Huron in Bruce County. And so whenever we're done corn there, we've at least, I sure hope it keeps going, because he always picks up the tab. So yes. we always go out for a really nice dinner and celebrate. And I think the neat thing for us about crops is, just like me not growing up with it, my dad, they had to make tough choices. They rented farms to get everything started. When they finally could buy a farm, could never do crops. And they took their lifetime of hard work, and what they do, they turned around and bought a farm so that dad could finally be a crop farmer. So he and I are both learning alongside each other and enjoying the odd nice meal out along the way, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That sounds pretty great. Okay, well, enjoy that. I'm going to say pork tenderloin. I'd say steak, but come on now. Okay, maybe you can.
Well, I don't know.
You can have lamb chops.
When you go out, you've got a steak and a good cocktail for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty delicious. All right, okay, Stewart, thank you so much for joining me on the Rapid Fire.
Awesome. Have a great afternoon.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here from the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, and we'll head west right after this break to Lashburn, Saskatchewan. Ready to take your oat game to the next level? Try CDC Endure from Alliance Seed. CDC Endure oats are consistently one of the top yielding varieties in the Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta provincial yield trials. With strong standability, excellent disease resistance, and excellent end-use quality, CDC Endure might be the variety for you and your farm. Available from authorized Alliance Seed retailers. For more information, visit allianceseed.com. Infuse some energy into your next corporate event, customer meeting, or conference with RealAg Radio, Canada's national agriculture radio show. Create a unique experience at your next event with host Sean Haney, broadcasting RealAg Radio live on Sirius XM, featuring exciting guests, captivating interviews, and the latest news from the agriculture community. Contact advertising at realagriculture.com or call 587-787-1795 to book your on location with RealAg Radio today.
There's a reason we call it the Corn School. Videos on everything from planter setup to weed control, field trial results, and the latest yield strategies. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF. Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from RealAgriculture.com, or as a podcast in your favorite podcast app. Check out the latest Corn School episode today.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio Channel 147, Sirius XM. I am your host for this Thursday, which is, of course, the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer brand canola with Optimum Gly, the highest yielding glyphosate-tolerant trait on the market. What's next in canola happens here. Visit pioneer.com/Canada. We hop now to somewhere near Lashburn, Saskatchewan, to talk to Devon Walker. Devon, how are you?
I'm good, Lyndsey. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, I heard a rumor you can confirm or deny that you may be done harvest entirely, completely.
Yeah. Yes, I am. Well, I was. And then doing some field work yesterday, I found like a 20-foot strip that I somehow left along a tree line. So I'm like debating whether or not I disc it under or I go get it with the combine. It's like our furthest away land. So yeah, I was done until yesterday at 3:00 when I came around the corner and went, oh.
So that I get, because it's like a strip, right? So maybe there was a, tree in the way, maybe it was wet. Like, there's 100 reasons why you might have left it, or maybe you just didn't see it. That happens too. I love the stories of farmers who find entire fields that they missed. Like, there are people that forget about the fields that they have. I don't think I could do that.
Yeah. I don't think I could either. No, I think at that point, you maybe have too many fields.
You maybe do. Although you did forget a 20-foot strip.
Just a thought.
Yeah. I would say.
Yeah. So maybe I have too many strips.
Maybe. Although maybe it makes a great experiment. You could see. Maybe you leave it. Or maybe you just, I don't know.
Cover cropping.
Yeah, cover cropping. This is cover cropping in Lashburn, Saskatchewan. This is what it looks like, everybody. Okay. To that point though, how did harvest go? Other than that?
Logistically, good. Weather-wise, we had like 5 inches of rain in September, so not great snowfall last winter, not great groundwater moisture. Then we had enough rain in May and June to squeak us to having a really healthy-looking crop. And then no rain in July, no rain in August, and then rain in September. And so it wasn't a fun harvest for that, but we got it done, and it was just a lot of hurry up and wait. And sounds like our region up here, I'm not the only one, but just lots of little pocket showers that came through. So I say no rain in July and August. There's still the odd person who got some hail in July or August, and then on the fringe of that got a copious amount of rain on the edge of that fringe. And so there are these little spots and pockets where yields were good, but we had across our farm, our yield was anywhere from equal to crop insurance average, more or less, to like half of our crop insurance coverage level, just depending on what land got what shot of rain at what time.
That's sort of the untimely rain. That whole 5 inches of...
Yes.
Everyone talks about the timely rain. The untimely rain is sometimes... It's sort of insult to injury at that point. Yeah. Now...
Yeah, but you're numb at that point. So you're just like, oh, well.
Well, I don't know if I'd say, oh, well. Because, yes, it's not ideal. Now, how does the forecast look for potentially bumping up some of those soil reserves for moisture for next season?
Oh, yeah, it's super positive. Like, we don't turn away rain, especially when we've gone through kind of the dry cycle here in the last 4 years. So the rain's been good. I think we mowed our grass around the farmyard and around the house more times in September than we did the rest of the year. The cattle producers in our area are happy to see some moisture and some regreening and some second growth, and hopefully the pasture and grassland root systems are nice and healthy going into winter here, because I think they will be. So that's positive. And on grain farmland for us, it's nice to see, some weed seeds germinating and some volunteers germinating now, so that we can, they can freeze and die and get them out of the way. So it's all good.
Still not the most exciting or easiest harvest to do. Does that, it's largely moisture driven. Was there anything this year that happened that will impact what rotations happen next year on the same ground?
Well, I don't know. I keep telling myself one of these years I'll be a mature farmer and stop growing peas. This might be the year with this Canada, India political, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. If we were to get shut out of India for pulse trade, I would easily take pulses out of my rotation for next year, because they heat blast this year, so the yield wasn't awesome for when they flowered, like the timing of their flowering and the heat. I feel it hamstringed their production, but so that would be one thing that I would change, but impacts from politics might change that way before my agrology decisions.
Mm-hmm. What would that look like to take? Like to take pulses out of rotation. Does that significantly shift other decisions that you make? I mean, obviously the fertility question comes into play, but does that shift other bigger picture discussions as far as input costs and those sorts of things?
Yeah, it would a little bit. Probably bottom line, or I guess overall inputs, not so much. But yeah, we would be requiring more nitrogen fertilizer to put on that ground if we were to replace it with barley or peas or canola. Mm-hmm. So yeah, pulses represent about 15% of our acres on our farm. So any more than that seems to be a logistical nightmare and a rotational nightmare to try and squeeze pulses in beyond 15% of your acres. So with the Phantomyces and other soil-borne diseases. So that's about as much as we can get. So to trim 15% out doesn't seem like a lot. We'd probably replace it with some cereals, because I don't want to push rotation on our canola any tighter. We're about a third of our acres on our farm are canola, so I don't want to increase our canola acres beyond that.
Yeah, that becomes another logistical headache of where you put it every year.
Oh,
so
yeah. Exactly.
For sure. Good thing. Okay, my question of the week, before we run out of time, Devon. Do you have any post-harvest, so finishing harvest, do you have any post-harvest rituals? Do you throw a party?
Oh.
Do you burn a hat?
Well, usually, so this year, we had the ladies finish up. My 11-year-old daughter was running one combine, and my wife was running the other combine for the last 50 acres. And so I think that might be a ritual, just to have the kids come out and make sure the kids help us finish the last little bit. Like, we put off the last 50 acres till later in the day, till they got off the school bus. So that was good. We had our cart guy's son out there with us, and our 3 daughters and my wife in one combine. And I really enjoyed that. So I like that. I think we'll make that it. And then we had a garage party after harvest. We had lots of folks who've helped us out through the year, from agrology to marketing to labor to machine operating and landlords and neighbors and anybody who helped us out, kind of thing. We had a brisket and beverages, and our young fella who helps on the farm, our 17-year-old neighbor's son, won the Happiest Guy of the Night award. He was just ear to ear smile, and so I think I like that tradition, a little bit of a harvest wind up.
Mm-hmm. I like that too. And perhaps when it comes to succession planning, this is something more farmers should do. Get the kids to finish everything up and get that satisfying last pass and get that in the blood. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, try and I don't know, they see the grind. I mean, they see me come in late at night or out early in the morning, or they see kids are really quick to pick up on the negative stuff, or I shouldn't say the negative, but they perceive, dad's grumpy, dad's tired, dad's stressed, mom's tired, that kind of thing. As I'm growing as a parent, I'm seeing that I need to enforce the positive parts of this trade also, because the negatives, you can look for negatives everywhere. It's under every rock, but try and reinforce the positive parts for the youth, and I hope we can keep doing that.
Yep, I love it. Okay, Devon, thank you so much. Enjoy a bit of a quieter few weeks ahead.
Yeah, kinda, sorta, just sorta. A different noise.
Yeah, different busy.
But thanks.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks so much. All right. Right after the break, we're going to hop to Alberta and talk to Sarah Weigum here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. Making the most efficient use of your dollars spent on crop nutrition is a constant goal of all farmers. We recognize this hurdle as you prepare for another growing season. It's challenging to balance economics over ever-changing environmental conditions. Alpine developed the Maximizing Fertilizer Efficiency program to solve this yearly dilemma. The program's goal is to reduce risk from variable weather conditions by managing the nutritional requirements for your crop in a timely manner. To learn more, visit alpinepfl.com today.
What were the issues in your fields this year? Did you do a soil sample? What is your soil sample telling you about some of the nutrient issues that you might be having going into next year? What herbicides did you use? What residues you might be concerned about? What weed issues did you have? What crop residues did you have? How well do you know your fields?
Get the answers to all the questions you have about your pulse crop at the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com. Welcome back to Real Ag Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. I am your host for the day, Lyndsey Smith, and today is, of course, the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. Joining me now here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, it's Sarah Weigum. She's from Three Hills, Alberta. Sarah, what is keeping you busy this week?
This week, we are spreading granular herbicide. We've been cleaning some wheat seed, and we're doing a little bit of a breaking project on some grass. So we're spread all over the place.
No kidding. That sounds busy. Tell me more about this, the grass project.
Yeah, there's a field we inherited, I guess, a couple years ago, and there's a big grass corner that hasn't been farmed for a while, so it sort of makes for some short passes. So we decided to break it up and try to farm it, and hopefully we'll get all the rocks picked out of it and sod broken up and can get a good establishment next year.
Mm-hmm. So what's going to go on that piece?
Probably canola, just because that's the rotation for the rest of the field. I don't know if that's an ideal breaking crop, but that's what we're going with.
Some things are just, you're going to make it work. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah. Or deal with the consequences.
Yeah, exactly. And who got to pick all the rocks? Or do you have a rock picker? Or is it friends and family?
It's all of the above. We kind of went through and picked up a bunch of, I think there's some like little piles that people just stashed there over the years. So we picked those just with a skid steer and then running the disc over it, pops them out. So, yeah, a little bit of machines. I've got a couple teenage boys that are going to come hopefully on Thursday and do some rock picking. So, some child labor will be involved. Can I say that on the radio?
You can. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
This context, it is encouraged. It teaches humility and life lessons. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I was out there last Friday picking some rocks. I'm like, this is what it's like at the top of the totem pole of the Elect Seeds world.
Exactly. This is CEO material right here, is picking rocks. Yes, absolutely. Now, does that mean harvest is completely wrapped up? Or there's still a couple fields left to go? Or where are you guys at?
We did. We finished before Thanksgiving, thankfully, which is always a nice feeling. And we really like to drag it out. My neighbors were giving me a hard time. They said, you must really love to combine, because we started in early August with peas and we end in early October with flax. So, we're out there. It's a marathon, not a sprint for us.
Yeah, exactly. Now, so flax is one of those ones that, some people still grow it. Some people have taken to growing it. It's, for anyone who doesn't know about growing flax, the residue management component, it can be a challenge. What is your favorite thing about growing flax?
When it's done?
Right.
I actually like the smell of it. Like all crops have a different smell at harvest time, and flax has this kind of like unique one. So, that's just kind of a silly little thing, but it's flax harvest time. I like just kind of a diversifying rotation. We like to keep things pretty mixed up around here. So another crop away from canola in the broadleaf realm, and peas. Some fields are maybe not ideal for peas in our world. So, it's just another broadleaf crop to grow. And I think, it's good. It's nice to hit it with Tail M, and usually can smoke some thistles in crop. And it's challenging. Not everybody has the patience. It's sort of one of those crops you usually have to wait for frost to dry the stems down. Otherwise they just stay green and don't want to go through the combine very well. This year we did the unconventional, and swathed it very, very trepidatiously. We did one field, picked it up 4 days later. Then we swathed the other field and picked it up 4 days later because I was like, there's no way I want 2/4 of flax flaws out there blowing around.
It's true. Yeah. And did it work okay, though? Like, to do it in stages like that? All right.
It did. I mean, it just took longer. So, but that's okay. It's not like we were pressed to do something else. So, yeah, we got both fields picked up and in the swath windrow of straw baled before things got too scary. So, yeah, it was a success. I think, if you want to wait for the frost, that's fine. And this year I just felt antsy, I guess, to get it done. So we swapped it.
Now, is that is also one of those crops, of course, that, sometimes people joke about how it gets a couple birthdays in the bin before the market picks back up. What is the market like right now for flax?
Not a lot of buyers, but the one elevator I get texts from, they are up a couple bucks from the stuff I pre-priced in the spring or whatever. So I'm kind of just waiting back on some results as far as seed quality goes, and then we may decide to market a little bit more commercially.
Okay, cool. That's always good news when there's maybe some interest out there. That is super cool. So now overall, I have been to Three Hills, Alberta. It's a beautiful spot. Gentle roll.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But it is on the dry side, tends to be. What was your season like this year?
Yeah, it certainly won't go down as a real banner year. We were, like a lot of places, I guess, we had good rain early on, great establishment. Every plant, it seemed like, was there. And then got hit with 28 days of hot weather in July and no rain in sight. So, yeah, looking backwards, the 2024 crop is not going to be one you really want to remember. But looking forward, we actually had quite a bit of fall rain. And so we were able to get 240 acres of fall rye seeded and had some timely rains on those acres. So, I don't know, I feel more optimistic this year than I guess I did probably this time last year when we hadn't had any rain in the fall.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a difference, especially if you do have anything that you're trying to even get to germinate in the fall. That's pretty exciting to actually get some moisture. Yeah. Okay, well, then that's okay. Now, my question of the week, so glad to hear that you're done because it lines up with that. Maybe it's not quite applicable yet for our Ontario friends, but do you have any end of harvest, post-harvest rituals, celebrations? Do you have any particular things that you do once harvest wraps up?
Nothing specific. Usually it feels like you just kind of want to launch right into fall work, so you don't really kind of get that sort of slow down and catch your breath. So maybe the weather gets a little bit cooler, but we like to have a sort of post-harvest meeting at some point with the whole operations team and just discuss how things went and what could go better next year and anything we learn or want to try differently. And then usually a post-harvest party of some sort in November as well. So yeah, I was thinking about that today actually. I'm like, I better start picking a date for the party or it won't happen because, Christmas activities sort of come earlier and earlier, it seems.
Yeah, it does. I know. That's a key part of it is you just got to pick a date and then start telling everybody to mark their calendar or else it won't happen. Yeah. Everybody will find or have plans and then away you go. All right. And do you do potluck or do you cater?
Not potluck. Some sort of either I will cater or depending on how ambitious I'm feeling, I'll hire it out or we'll go out. So yeah, something like I don't expect the employees to bring the food.
See, but potlucks are fun because then you can everyone has their signature potluck dish.
Yeah, it's true. I have a couple people I affectionately call them Team Chicken and Rice on my harvest crew. They're very limited diets because of some extreme food sensitivity. So it's pretty they don't potluck is pot doom to them because if there's something in there that they are not expecting, it could be very bad.
Very bad. You know what? On the RealAg team, we have some similar Team Chicken and Rice people, and so I completely feel you. Because going to restaurants together is sometimes an adventure. So
exactly,
I can only imagine doing that. That sounds good. And a lovely way to take care of each other. So there you go. I love it.
Maybe we'll do salmon. We can also, I think everyone can do salmon. So that's like a step up from doing salmon and rice instead of chicken and rice.
That it totally is. I would eat it. All right. Okay. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me on the Farmer Rapid Fire.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and I will be back with Derwyn Hammond of Pioneer Seeds Canada, based out of Manitoba, right after this quick break.
Advanced canola trait technology is here. And it's soon to be the talk of the town. Optimum Glide delivers excellent yield potential and agronomic trait performance. Improved crop safety. Enhanced weed control. And a wider window of application. You're going to want to see this. Learn more at OptimumGlide.ca.
Peter Johnson at WheatPete, RealAgriculture.com. I'm the host of The Word, and I love doing The Word. I love the questions. I love the challenges. I love having to apply agronomics to all over the globe and areas outside of my normal jurisdiction. Also, I love the feedback the most, where growers challenge me, tell me about their plot results, help me to learn. The Word, absolutely the best part of my day.
All right, welcome back to the Farmer Rapid Fire here on RealAg Radio, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. Joining me now is Derwyn Hammond, based out of Brandon, Manitoba. Derwyn, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. It is middle of the month. Kind of hard to believe we're halfway through October already. I love autumn. It's a great time of year, but it also means maybe harvest is wrapping up or has wrapped up. And that means it's time to look ahead to next year. What are you hearing from growers as far as what's top of mind for 2025?
Well, I think, as a debrief and guys have wrapped up, canola yields, I would say overall disappointing this year. Lots of disease pressure in the fields, certainly in this area. Mainly verticillium stripe and sclerotinia, probably the ones coming up most often. Bit of blackleg here and there as well. So, not a big surprise. We had very cool, wet conditions throughout all of June and lots of stress on that crop early. And those wet conditions in June pretty conducive to pretty much all the major diseases that can attack a canola crop. So not a big surprise to see that develop into some fairly high pressure. So, just talking with guys, planning ahead, the genetic traits that we can utilize to help manage that. Those products tended to gravitate to the top of the leaderboard in the trials, in the fields where there was that pressure, right? And so it's always weighing that against some other agronomic factors, things like shatter tolerance, maturity, and some of those other things, and, targeting those genetics at those high-risk fields heading into next year. What parts of your farm are you in an area that saw lots of pressure and sees pressure year in, year out? I guess the other key thing I'm just coaching guys on is putting the results this year in the context of this year, because it was a pretty extreme year, and this year might not be a perfect predictor of what we'll see for results in 2025. So, it's important to learn what we can from it, but also don't forget about the previous 2 or 3 years if you've got some experience with products, because that may be more the year we see next year. You never know. So.
Right. What is it? It's something about learning from this year, but not farming this year's weather. Because we cannot necessarily guarantee a repeat, and maybe we don't want a repeat, frankly. You did mention, of course, that, some decent yields out there, but some really challenging conditions for some farmers. So some crops maybe did not yield quite as well as we would have liked. What are you hearing on the soybean, corn front? How is that looking for your territory?
Certainly soybeans have been the pleasant surprise. Again, that cool, wet June saw more IDC, iron deficiency chlorosis, hang around in those soybeans for a long time. and they struggled early, but they really came on strong with that warmer weather in July and August and have produced some really strong yields, certainly yields rivaling the canola crop in the area, lots in that 50 range and beyond. So, as we look at crop rotation as one of the tools that we can maybe work into the mix if we're starting to see some disease pressure in that canola crop more often, that's an opportunity. Corn, another one, lots of rapid growth symptoms early on, but grew through it. The ears, kernel count on the ears looks really good, and preliminary yields look pretty strong. So, those crops took advantage of that warm weather later in the season and the open fall that we got to enjoy.
Yes.
So they've taken advantage of it.
Yeah. No, and that's, again, maybe not something to count on when, it doesn't frost till Thanksgiving, but nice when it happens. Now it does, of course, we've talked a bit about, planning for next year and keeping track of what fields maybe have certain disease pressures, depending on what crop is going in there. What about from the nutrient standpoint, if we perhaps didn't achieve the yields we had planned for or fertilized for, what can we do this fall maybe to inform next season's decisions?
Well, I always feel like I'm beating the same old drum, but I always recommend, that opportunity to do some fall soil testing gives you all winter to the plan for next year in terms of that nutrient program. And this year, you just mentioned some nutrients like nitrogen may be vulnerable to potential loss between now and spring, but other nutrients like phosphorus and potassium, they're pretty stationary in the soil and stick around. And so, those residual levels, maybe that's an opportunity to save some cost heading into next year with a little softer commodity prices, lots of focus on the cost side of the balance sheet. The other thing this year, lots of shallow root systems because of that wet conditions early on. So making sure you're testing not just that top 6 inch, but the 0 to 6 and 6 to 24 to get a look at what those subsoil levels might look like.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. As you mentioned, likely going to be a winter of very sharp pencils, trying to figure out, where you spend your money on your inputs and where you might be able to save a few dollars. Derwyn, when it comes to, we are in sort of prime decision-making time for when it comes to some of these hybrids and seed selection. Does yield always win, or what else should be in the mix there?
Well, certainly yield is the outcome of all of that combination of your management decisions and the traits that those products carry. But certainly, I think that's the key is, again, putting it in the context of what do you feel were your big yield limiting factors that were working against those hybrids, and then looking at the trait combinations of those different products. And that's where your local rep can give you a lot of insight into, based on what you feel your limiting factors are, which products might perform the best on those specific acres.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I like that. Yield is the outcome. It's not necessarily a static trait at all. All right. Derwyn Hammond, thank you so much for joining me here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you, of course, by Pioneer Seeds Canada. Well, that does it for another edition of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, right here on RealAg Radio, Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. I have been your host, Lyndsey Smith, and I will be back tomorrow with the Issues Panel. I've got Tyler McCann of Cappy and Calvin Hepner of Real Agriculture joining me. We have so much to talk about. Tune in tomorrow, 4:30 Eastern, right here on Sirius XM.